Hey, welcome to Heart Games Tarot. Today we're going to do a reading with the title, something like This Ends With You. And what this reading is about is patterns and cycles. For example, what really got me thinking about this is I grew up in an alcoholic household. It was as childhoods goes, it wasn't the worst for sure. It was more neglect than anything else, I would say, because people were really busy in their own personal hells or deals that or things that they were dealing with. But what really struck me when I started to really think about it is I broke that cycle. I am not an alcoholic and did some partying in my 20s, but I am not an alcoholic, and I was so proud that I broke those cycles, and I still am. But when I look back, I carried forward a lot of stuff as the adult child of an alcoholic. People pleasing, hyper responsibility, the need to control, and I could go on and on with the list. And so I thought it would be very interesting to pull some cards and see, have we broken the cycle? And if so, fantastic, but is there more work to do? Could we be carrying on some mannerisms that have become maybe our issues that we can work to end not just the cycle, but what we're carrying forward? So we have 3 readings: reading number 1, reading number 2, and reading number 3. Please choose either by the animal or insect, by usually do I choose 1 or do I choose 2 or do I choose 3, or sometimes I will choose by the timestamp. So please go ahead and choose your reading or readings, and I will see you over there. Group number 1. So the reading, This Ends With You. It's like you didn't choose the pattern. Maybe as I gave in my example in the intro, let's say, for example, your parents are alcoholics and you're like, I'm never, I'm not going to be an alcoholic. I'm going to give my kids a way better life. Or if you don't have kids, I'm going to have a way better life. But you may see that because of your parents' pattern, there may be different patterns that you're carrying forward, that if you can identify them, you could kind of break the cycle. Ooh, Justice in the Tower. You could kind of break the cycle and move even forward, move forward even more in healing and having a healthy lifestyle. Alrighty. So group 1. Let's look and see, what did you inherit? The feeling of being frozen, unable to make a decision, always having to maybe ask for advice, always seeing, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 different options, but feeling frozen and not able to make a decision or a choice. Afraid to make mistakes. Afraid to make decisions. Afraid to take a chance. Yes. Whatever it is that you inherited, what I was going to say read off to you. Well, I did. I read the cards. What I just read off to you is what happened to you as a result of living through this pattern. Feeling frozen, being frozen, unable to make choices or decisions, unable to take chances or any risk. That sounds like a really, unsatisfying experience. What are you carrying that isn't yours? So here's the behaviors. But what are you carrying? Like in my example, I didn't carry the alcoholism over into the next generation, but I carried over a lot of the attributes that the issues that you end up having as a result of growing up that way. So what are you carrying that isn't yours? Hiding your light. Uber defensive. The need to achieve. Yeah, here's what I feel like. I feel like you grew up in, if this reading's for you, group 1, I feel like you grew up in an atmosphere where nothing you ever did was good enough. If you tried to defend yourself, I'd say you just didn't, or you stopped. Or you always felt the need to. Whether you were able to do it verbally or just in your own head. You felt like you had to be perfect. And what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing is these families that insist that their kids, you have to be an attorney, you have to be a doctor, you have to follow your dad in the business, you have to be like your mom, the Nobel Peace Prize winner or something. But what's funny is, oh no, I get it. This put out your light. Let's say you are super creative and you wanted to, with the sun, and you wanted to be, you're artistic and you wanted to do art, you wanted to do music. But that wasn't even something that you could bring up because, oh my gosh, no, that's not acceptable. That's ridiculous. You can't make a good living doing that. I've always seen it. It's like the accountant who hates it and it's super stressful and they really don't like doing it, and they want to be like a saxophone player. Maybe they do. Maybe they, start a band or join a band and they do that on the weekends, but it was something that they always wanted to do, but it wasn't encouraged when they were young. And so they've always been doing something, even that chose their living, which is how many hours in our lives do we spend making our living? They even chose that based on the wants, desires, and needs of someone else. How is this pattern showing up? How is it affecting you? We already saw here some of the traits, okay? Frozen. But how is this affecting your life? How is this pattern showing up in your life? How is it showing up in your relationship to others? How is it showing up in, say, if you have kids, your relationship to your children? We have the Hierophant, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Three of Pentacles. With the Hierophant, I feel like you have been pushed into a conventional lifestyle. you were with the Three of Pentacles, you were told that hard work, you know, toil and labor, the Puritan ethic, give 110% to something that you don't even love. This is what is going to make you happy. And so this is about a pattern showing up. Did you somehow kind of carry this on? Did you believe it? Did you fall for it, that what you wanted to do, which may have made you $60,000 a year, but you would have been so happy and fulfilled and thrilled, but you were like, but that's not good enough. I have to do what, you know, society, mom and dad, whatever, expects of me. And that's what you did. And did you carry that forward? Or did you resent it? Oh my God. The Wheel of Fortune twice. Death. Here's the deal. I feel like the pattern has showed up. I mean, come on. I'm not saying that you were weak and you bought into it. It was just you accepted, even though maybe you weren't happy and you felt defensive. Maybe that's all that you could do. Hello, you know, we're kids. You accepted it. And maybe you even carried on, and now looking, let's say, for example, you have children and you carried on the same kind of outlook with them. Hey, you have to be this to be successful. You have to either be A, B, or C. And then they come and they say, well, I want to be, you know, D. And you're like, oh no, absolutely not. You have to be A, B, or C. So you kind of carried that on. But what this is telling me is, at this time or some time, even in the formative years, either you broke out of it younger, or you're breaking out of it now and you're helping your family members to break out of it. With the Page of Swords, we see a real new relationship with the truth. And when I say the truth, there's your truth, my truth, and, you know, maybe the real truth falls somewhere in the middle. But your truth, you realize that the fortune, the benefits are only going to come with the Death card, with ending this. The Death card is giving up on an old automatic way of doing things and being open to a new way. So I see that growth with you. I feel like this reading may have interested you because, you know, this ends with you. You didn't choose the pattern or the cycle because you're in the process of breaking it. And it can take your whole life. Like I said in the beginning, I was so proud that I didn't, you know, turn out to be an alcoholic, or that I chose not to be an alcoholic. But it took me until well into my adult years to realize the patterns, behaviors, mannerisms, whatever, that I had as a result of growing up that way that were negative, that I was carrying forward. But I feel like you've already seen that. Let's see if we can get a little bit more deep into what actually does end with you. Ooh, that was crappy. Let's cut. We've got Death again. We've got Death, the Lovers, and Temperance. I feel like, again, Death coming up twice. This is your ability to recognize the automatic habits, tendencies, behaviors that you have as a result of the way that you were raised. And with this, you can't be a social worker, you have to be an attorney, or, you can't explore music, you have to be a doctor, stuff like that. That's just an example. You fill in the blank for you, okay? But whatever it is, whatever this caused you to do, to feel, to carry over. With the Death card twice, group 1, I really see you have worked on this. And with the Lovers, it's interesting that it falls right underneath the Two of Cups, the fear to make a decision. And the Lovers is a choice. I mean, it's about, love. In a love reading, it's like, oh, the Lovers, yay, it's your soulmate. But, and it can have some type of meaning that way, if you want to take it that way. And please feel free to interpret any of these cards. And if you see, hey, Cindy, you missed this or you missed that when you interpreted the card. I love that. Oh, okay, I'm going to remember that for next time, that there's a certain way that this can be interpreted in addition, not like I was wrong, but like there's additional ways to interpret the cards. And so I feel like definitely this could be more open to love if this cycle, this pattern, the patterns kept you from really experiencing love. Like you didn't even really feel it with your kids. You worried because you were so adamant that they behave a certain way or do certain things, and you're like, how could I have done that? Did I screw them up? Do they love me or do they resent me? I feel like you're making the choice with the Lovers to end this cycle with the 2 Death cards. You're recognizing above and beyond what caused the damage, pain, whatever, hurt to you. You may not have done it exactly as your parents did it, but there was still carryover that you worry about. And with the Temperance card, I see balance, patience. You're finding more balance. You're finding more balance. The main message, though, that I'm getting for you is you're ending the old automatic way of doing things. You may be encouraging your kids, your spouse, whatever. Hey, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I didn't have that 100% right. How are you breaking this cycle? What did you do to break this cycle? How are you breaking it? How can you break it? How can you work on this moving forward? Too many. How are you working on this moving forward? Oh, what's wrong with me and my shuffling skills? We have the 3 of Wands, the Five of Wands, and the Four of Swords. You know, the Five of Wands can be about conflict and competition, but it's also about learning. If you look at this card, you know, this is not swords. These people aren't, you know, eradicating each other. It's kind of like they're learning how to fight, learning how to do something. And I feel like that's how you break the cycle. You're learning. And it may be like defensive. We had the Seven of Wands up here, which is like standing your ground, standing up for yourself, defending yourself. This could indicate a need or a desire, or maybe what you have been doing, self-help books, therapy. And I also feel like with the Three of Wands, you're seeing a different path. You're ready to do something new. Where with the Fool before, you were afraid to take a risk. You were unable to take a risk. You were frozen. And I'd say this was probably in your younger years, but this probably did carry forward. Now, with the Three of Wands, you're ready to move forward. With the Four of Swords, man, do we have healing. So this is how you have broken the cycle, or how you will break the cycle. Learning, healing, and looking forward to a new future. The two most strong cards that are good for you in this reading is the Death cards. You are able to, you are either are or will very soon be ending the old automatic way of doing things that you were taught and venturing out with new ways, taking risks, making your own choices in life, finding balance, healing, learning. Beautiful. This is what I have for you, Group 1. Thank you so much for joining. This is good stuff. See you next time. Bye-bye. Group 2, welcome. So this is the reading, This Ends With You. It's about breaking cycles, continuing on with patterns, maybe negative patterns, identifying, you know, what you're doing. And as an example, what really got me thinking about this, you may have heard this in the intro, but I want to say it again quickly in case you skipped the intro. For example, what really got me thinking about this is I was raised in an alcoholic household. Not horribly abusive, but I would venture to say a lot of neglect. People were definitely busy, you know, drinking, spending their money on that, you know, doing their own thing. And of course, you know, that takes a lot of time, energy, and resources. And so I always promised, you know, I am not going to be like that. And I always did want kids. And I was like, I'm going to be exactly the opposite, and I'm not going to raise my kids like that. Well, I kept my promise to myself. I'm not an alcoholic. Partied a little bit in my 20s, but definitely not an alcoholic. But one thing that I did realize moving forward, you know, into my 20s, 30s, probably a lot of the realizations came in my 40s, that while I didn't carry on the alcoholism, I carried on a lot of the issues that adult children of alcoholics have. People pleasing, hyper responsibility, the need to control, and you know, I could go on and on and on. Those are the ones that I can think of. And so then it took me, oh my God, you know, I was so proud of myself, and I still am. You know, I did break a cycle. I did break a pattern. But then I realized there was a lot more work to do. So that's what I want to do in this reading. I want to help you discover the, if not the pattern, the hidden patterns, the hidden cycles that continue on in the background, should I say, that we may not even realize that we're doing. So let's just pull the cards. Like, here's some of the questions, and maybe not in this order, but what did you inherit? Like, what pattern is showing up? Behaviors, things like that. What do you repeat? What are you repeating unconsciously, maybe? What needs to end with you, and how do you break the cycle or continue to break the cycle? Reading number 1 was, there was a lot of healing and changes, and it was really beautiful. But let's just kind of see about you. Okay, isn't this wonderful? We have the Devil. And so I would say that a lot of restriction. You either had a super duper controlling parent, for whatever reason. I'm picturing, and not all military parents are horrible, but I'm not even necessarily military, but like a drill sergeant parent, even if they weren't in the military, is the kind of thing, like they had an uber control issue. Maybe they were an adult child of an alcoholic, super controlling. Of course, with the Devil comes addictions. So I would venture to say that there were addictions in your childhood, parents, family members that you had to deal with. You may have inherited the addictions. Or, as in my example at the beginning of this reading, you may have some unconscious habits or addiction or addictions, habits. What would you call having a control issue? Is that more, I'd say behavior. That's the word I'm looking for. You may have some behaviors that are a result of growing up this way. Yeah, with the Six of Pentacles, I feel like you never felt like things were equitable. You always got the, excuse my French, shit end of the stick. I'm seeing like, just again, every example I give is just an example. Just you, please feel free to interpret these cards as you get the hits, and leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm super interested in seeing not what I might have missed, because there's a gazillion ways to interpret these cards, and I could be here for days. But what the cards mean for you. The Six of Pentacles is about balance, equitable, even give and take. And I feel like right next to the Devil, that's not what you experienced. For me, example, no new school clothes. And here's the deal. It wasn't because we're poor. We weren't rich, but it wasn't because we were poor. It was because all of the resources were focused on a different lifestyle. Okay? And I saw that even as a young person. And it made me feel like unworthy. Like, how come, Debbie next door got this really groovy India print skirt and, paisley velvet jacket for back to school. And what did I get? Something from my big sister and some janky polyester dress that my mom sewed that I would wear to school and put in the locker, and then put on my jeans and my flannel shirts. Oh, wow. Stop. Yeah, not feeling important. Not feeling important enough to be considered, basically, is kind of the energy that I'm getting. Now, how did this affect you? These addictions, this control, these restrictions. You know, they say a super restrictive parent is going to raise a rebel child. The restrictive parent is like, oh, I have to keep her locked in or she'll go out and get pregnant. But what she doesn't know, that if she would have given her freedoms and responsibilities and, you know, let the kid learn how to make decisions on their own, it would have been a lot better. And the kid wouldn't have snuck out when they were 14 and met some 20-year-old and got pregnant or something like that. I don't know where that's coming from. I think I watch too much crime TV. But you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the restrictiveness was out of love, but really it's out of fear. And anything that is done out of fear is not going to, there's not going to be a good outcome. So anyway, we see the background. So how is this pattern showing up? What are you carrying? What are you repeating? The Wheel of Fortune, the Queen of Pentacles, the Five of Pentacles. Okay. Here's what I see. I see you feeling like you're on the outside looking in. Like the day that self-esteem was passed out, you were behind the door or you missed that day at school. Like everybody else knows some kind of secret to a happy life, a happy relationship, how to be successful, how to have nice things. You were absent that day. And I feel like you've been striving all your life for security, stability, and you know you have it in you, even though learning those skills was certainly not, I won't say even encouraged, but wasn't a thing. Like nobody had these skills when you were growing up. And so if stability and security was super important to you growing up, you may have made decisions that you thought would give you a secure life, but it didn't. And as a prime example, especially if you were raised in an alcoholic household, they say that we marry our parents' relationship. So I would say in your search for stability, to feel safe, to feel secure, to have what you didn't have as a child, you may have chosen someone, not because they were rich or anything, but maybe because they showed, ambition, and you thought, oh, we could have a really good life with this person. He's working full-time and going to school, or look, she's really a go-getter, same thing, working full-time, going to school, he or she. And then you go all for it before even really getting to know the person. You make decisions based on need and not good judgment. And you find yourself maybe years later in a relationship, and even if it is someone that has money and you choose them for security, not like a gold digger, but you know what I mean, they use the money as a tool to restrict you. And so you find yourself really back in the same situation. And that's how you are carrying it forward. the cycles. So you're not an alcoholic. You want to buy your kids clothes and stuff, but you found yourself with very little like money skills, love skills. You have common sense, but not a lot of understanding, like how to see red flags, how to honor yourself. And you made decisions out of fear and need and want. And so if you've had children, they've seen the control that someone or something else has over you. And this is all an example. But I think you get it. And that's how you've carried it forward. Did you come out of this unscathed? I'm never going to be like my parents. And then you came over here, and as you were growing up, you had awesome self-esteem, and you saw red flags, and you avoided negative situations. No, you learned about family life maybe on TV by the Brady Bunch, or, because you didn't really have that great of an example at home. What needs to end? How do you break the cycle? Where are you with this thing? We have the Ten of Cups, the Hanged Man, and the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords, this is beautiful to me. The Eight of Swords is, here's the person stuck, blindfolded, and each of these 8 swords that they're standing in the center of is a negative self-belief. I'm not worthy. I'm not attractive. I'm not smart. I'm not, all the I'm nots. But with the Hanged Man, I see you finally being able to see things from a different perspective. And what's beautiful is we have the Ten of Cups here. And this shows a shift in what's important to you. Here we see security, stability, money. I mean, you never had much. If this reading is for you, group 2, you never had much love. You never had much money. You never had much consideration. People saying, hey, let me do something nice for you. You never had that. You don't even know what it's like to really have like a decent birthday or something. It's like, oh, okay, here's the cake and here's a half-assed present, stuff like that. And not like you needed $10,000 birthday. But if this is you, I think you know what I'm saying. But what this shows is a shift. And you are now more focused on love. But the cool thing is, it's not the need for love. It's the growth of self-love. With the Hanged Man, you're seeing things from a different perspective. Yes, security and stability is important. But love, and this is love for others. And we could say, oh yeah, well, with love you made, some shitty decisions too because you chose people out of need. But between these 2 cards, what this is talking about is self-love. Here, you didn't even know what self-love was. But I see that you've been, either you had an epiphany or you've been going to counseling, but you're recognizing and getting rid of these negative self-beliefs. You're becoming enlightened. You're taking a pause. You're healing. You're seeing things differently. So this is what you're doing to break the cycle, or what you will do. I don't know where you're at in your journey. You're learning about self-love. You're listening to the negative mind. And you are saying, I don't believe these things anymore. I know I'm okay. I know I'm lovable. I know I'm worthy. That's how you're breaking it. What do we see for the future? We have the Tower, the Two of Cups, and the Sun. Beautiful energy. The Tower scares people, but it's one of my favorite cards. Do you know why? Because it can be scary, it can be disruptive, it can be hellish for a while. But the Tower is the breaking down of something because it was built on a false foundation. And your self concept of self, I don't know the proper, terminology, but who you thought you were or how you treated yourself was false. You didn't think much of yourself. Because you weren't encouraged to, you weren't shown the good side of yourself. I see a lot of neglect, maybe even abuse in your growing up. But that's ending. Now, the thing about the Tower is you can contribute to the Tower, but the Tower is fate. And there's a difference between destiny and fate. Here's destiny. The Two of Cups. Making a choice, choosing a path, making a decision. Every time you make a decision, you choose your own destiny. You go for an interview at a couple of places. You get 2 offers the same day. Whichever job, say AT&T or Disney. You get offered 2 jobs. If you go to AT&T, you have another destiny. You meet new people, you do certain things, you learn certain things. If you do Disney, ditto. Different people. You're out dating, you meet 2 different people. You choose, Susie, that's one destiny. Could be beautiful, could be horrible. You choose Bill. It's another destiny. But what this shows is you're ready to start making your own choices, not from this false persona. Again, I'm not a therapist. I don't know the exact word, but this is the old you ending. And this is the new you. I could cry. Making choices, determining your own destiny. So fate is coming in. It's either a relationship that's going to go away, a way of being for you. And it's this way of being, this negative old way of being is ending. And what you have in front of you is autonomy, the options, the choice, the ability to make your own choices. And the Sun. I see a beautiful future for you, Group 2. Get back. And that's what people say. Oh, I want to get back. But if I look back on my life, I don't want to get back to anything. Because there was never a time where it was awesome. So it's not like get back to childhood, get back to beauty, get back to... It's not get back. It's move forward to. And that's what you're doing. Group 2, this is beautiful. Thank you so much for joining. I'd love some comments below on how you interpreted the cards or your story. Again, thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Group 3, welcome. So this is the reading. This ends with you. And it's about breaking cycles, breaking patterns. The example that I gave in the intro that I want to briefly go over, just in case you skipped it. What really got me thinking about this reading is, I was raised in an alcoholic household as a child. And again, not, horrible abuse or anything. I would say mainly probably more neglect, like money, time, attention, all those resources were really focused on a different lifestyle than growing healthy children. And so I said, you know what? I am going to break this cycle. I'm going to be totally unlike especially my mom, but my parents. I am not going to be an alcoholic. I'm going to be better. And you know what? I was. I'm not an alcoholic. I may have partied a little bit in my 20s, but not an alcoholic, definitely. But one thing that I didn't really get until started noticing it in my 20s, 30s, but really came home in my 40s was, okay, I'm not an alcoholic, but I learned a lot of negative coping mechanisms as a child, let's say. And so a lot of adult children of alcoholics, and this is just an example, but a lot of adult children of alcoholics are people pleasers, hyper responsible, ultra controlling to just try and feel okay, and in control of their own life, but try to control others. And so that's a whole nother underlying set. So while I'm proud of myself for not being an alcoholic, I realized there's a ton more work that I needed and still need to do as a result of growing up in an alcoholic household. And so that's what I want to do with you. What ends with you? How did you grow up? What affected you? What did you inherit? What pattern is showing up for you? What are you carrying forward? And then how can you end it? What does your future look like? Let's pull some cards and see. So let's kind of start what was your childhood like, or what did you inherit? Hey, you shush! Sorry, hold on. Get inside. You quit growling and barking at people. Yeah, no. That's not going to work right now. Go lie down. We have the Eight of Cups, the Page of Cups, and the Page of Pentacles. I don't know if you were called to look at any other groups. A lot of the problems that I'm seeing in all of the readings is growing up in households where addictions. And so, I'm seeing all these cups, and that, I can automatically interpret this as alcoholism for the Eight of Cups, the Page of Cups, and then just, generic. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol. It could be a million different things. But what I see for you is, so it could be alcoholism, but even more, what I'm seeing for you is someone leaving. I'm seeing abandonment. Now, whether someone, your parents got divorced and one parent just took off and you never had a relationship with them, abandonment can really affect a person negatively. A parent could have died, and, through no fault of their own, even if it was, through by their own hand and stuff, Anyway, I feel like there's abandonment here, and it could have been a physical abandonment, someone leaving, or it could have been an emotional abandonment. A person was just not available to you emotionally. And we have the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Cups. And what this tells me is you did not get input that was positive, affirming. You did not get, this is Cups, you didn't get love messages growing up. You didn't feel loved. And Pentacles, security, stability. You did not feel safe. So please interpret this as it works for you. I really do encourage that. And, you know, like I could be here for days because the cards individually and together could tell a gazillion different stories. But I am likening it to cycles and patterns. But if you experience something that's a little bit different, or even if it aligns, especially if it aligns, you know, I appreciate any positive, like, what's the word? If this resonates, I'd love to hear about that. But I see abandonment and I see very little positive input. Okay? How is this affecting you? How is this showing up for you? We have the Ace of Cups, the Queen of Swords, and the Emperor. Oof. I'm feeling like this is still telling the story. I'm seeing this could be one parent or it could be both parents. And sorry to blame everything on parents, but hell, you know, like I take responsibility for how I effed up as a parent. Things work their way down. Like I said in the beginning, I'm super proud of not being an alcoholic, but I'm also proud of working on the other things that I recognized, although it took me a while. And I look at my first two kids as kind of guinea pigs, unfortunately. They kind of learned with me. But, so, you know, not to, you know, bag on the parents, but and you know, and it could be grandparents, you could be in the foster system, you know, whatever, but it's input. And usually the input is from parents. Okay, this could be, you know, bullies in school or something. But what I see with the Emperor is an overbearing, controlling, and let's say male influence because it's the Emperor. But it could be a feminine with a lot of masculine energy. And then with the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords can be a real bitch. Okay? The truth can hurt. People can be really nasty and say, well, I'm just telling you the truth. And it can be their truth, but it doesn't necessarily make it your truth. And there's no reason to be like, you know, mean or a jerk or belittling or, you know what I mean? To soften something isn't being phony. I hope you get where I'm coming from with this. I see someone using truth as a weapon, or their truth. Cold, sharp tongue. They did not encourage self-love. They did not encourage self-love. So, everything that we've gotten so far is really your history. Can we find out more about what you are carrying forward? Habits, behaviors. What are you exhibiting? What are you carrying forward? And if you have children, maybe what did you put your kids through? That we beat ourselves up for. And hey, happens to the best of us. We have the Queen of Wands, the Five of Cups, and the Seven of Wands. With the Queen of Wands, I see you fighting. With the Queen of Wands and the Seven of Wands, I see you fighting being very defensive fighting to stand up for yourself. I see a lot of people pleasing. What I'm seeing also is, like, you meet someone, say at work, you're at work, and someone new starts, or you get to know someone from work, and they are the most self-confident person in the world. And you're like, how did they, like, you learn that they've been married for a couple of years, and their husband sends them flowers, and it's just like, looks so freaking healthy, and you're like, oh my God, I've been married and divorced twice, and to an alcoholic and to a cheater, and put my family through that, myself through that. And look at this person. Like, is she clueless and her husband's cheating on her? Or is she just so self-confident that she doesn't care? And then you watch and you're like, she would never choose someone who would do something like that to her. And if they did, she would dump them in a New York minute. But that's just most likely 99% not going to happen because of who she is, what her boundaries are, and what she thinks of herself. She thinks very highly of herself, but not in a, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not in a, God, I keep on having trouble. Stuck up is the only word I can think of. Not in a stuck up way, but in a, like, you can tell that she was nurtured. And that's what I feel like you weren't. And I know I wasn't. And so you look at this person, you're like, what the hell? And you see the holes in your life by comparing yourself to this person. And it's not good to compare and come up short, but it can be good to compare and see, oh, this is a whole new way of being that it's like a different language. Something I've never seen before. And you wonder, how can this person be this way? And you study it, and you see what you missed, and maybe what you need to start giving yourself. And with the Seven of Wands, you start creating boundaries. And I feel like a big maybe people pleaser thing here, or choosing your parents' marriage. They say, you, like, if you grew up in an alcoholic household, you choose that, a person with that energy, because that's what feels familiar. And you realize, yeah, that may be familiar, but it's not what I want. And this is the Seven of Wands. It is creating and enforcing boundaries. Like, where before you may have gotten in a relationship with a cheater, and it was your job to prove to them, oh, well, they cheat because their mom, and they didn't, they need the affirmation and the attention, and I understand that, so I'm going to show them what real true love looks like, and then they're going to stop because they have such a wonderful person, which is me. And you kind of look at the flaws in that, and you're like, oh, Jesus. Why would I even entertain something like that? Number one, I can see why I attracted that relationship. But number two, I really don't see why I tried to fix it. That's another thing of either adult children of alcoholics, or a child who grew up with neglect or abuse, whatever, the need to fix others. trying to be a healer, a fixer, when basically what we needed to do was go look in the mirror and fix and heal ourselves. And so we start to look at things totally differently, and we see why we made some of the decisions that we did. But the cool thing is, with the Five of Cups, I see you giving up, letting go. You've lost your taste for the old way. And it's kind of scary. And you may feel kind of lost, fearful. But in this card, if this person were to look behind them, they still have love. They still have goodness. They still have something to look forward to. So I think this message was, how do you break the cycle? You become aware. And this is a good time to compare. Again, like on social media, you compare yourself to all these women with beautiful bodies, not knowing that, you know, they went through a lot of surgeries maybe and spent a lot of money and are using a lot of filters. And so you come up wanting, not talking about that kind of comparison. You could be that person if you wanted to. But I'm talking about the comparison of finding a healthy role model and either learning from them one-on-one by talking to them, or just watching how they are and doing the work to figure out how they got there and how you can get there. So this is where I see you kind of becoming aware. Let's see what the future looks like. We have the Nine of Swords, the Six of Wands, and the World. Okay. The Nine of Swords, up at night, worrying, fear, negative beliefs, negative thoughts, letting this go. I see a beautiful future for you, Group 3. We have the World. The World is, I like to liken, it's an ending, but I like to liken this card to a graduation. It's like you go to high school, you go to college, you get the degree, and you're going through the threshold, through the portal to your new future. A more positive future, a more abundant future. Like, you know, more money, you got the degree, more options, you make the money, you take better care of yourself, get a better place to live. That it's growth, it's a graduation. And the thing with this is a lot of work is put into this in order to go through this portal. And so I see you doing the work, getting rid of the old beliefs, the old fears. And you have to identify them first before you can start to work on them. And that's what you're doing. I see the growth. So I see a graduation. I see you doing a lot of work, a lot of growing, a lot of healing, and a graduation. And finally, for your future, Group 3, we have the Six of Wands. This is victory. This is winning. This is moving forward. We're on a horse. We're moving forward to a better life. So this is the story that I see for you. Is this a confirmation? Are you already here? If you're not, I encourage you to see the ways that if you're not continuing on with the bad pattern and cycle, What are you carrying forward as a result of it? Is in my example, I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm the adult child of an alcoholic, and I learned a lot of negative coping. What negative coping strategies did you learn that are not serving you? How are you dealing with these learnings? What was the word I was looking for? Like eureka, these epiphanies. I feel like you're having epiphanies. And then this beautiful life, this graduation into more healing, more positive beliefs about yourself and victory in love, in happiness, in finances. This is beautiful. This is what I see for you, Group 3. Yay. And thanks for joining. And please do the like, subscribe, hype thing, all the things. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.